So they had a reverse boycott last night in Oakland. Reverse boycott. And the idea is no one's been going to the last place A's games all year anyway. So as part of a reverse boycott, the Oakland A's fans would show up. So they play at a massive stadium, which was added on to when the Raiders came back from L.A., when they built this gargantuan third level out in center field. It's called Mount Davis. And nobody sits there. So here's the problem. I obviously all of us who grew up in the 80s remember the Bash Brothers. If you're in the 70s, you remember Reggie Jackson and those Oakland A's teams. And, you know, because of the popularity of the book Moneyball and the movie Moneyball and the success at times of this baseball club, the A's have always been kind of part of the baseball conversation. But, like, what are we doing here? Sports is, in fact, a business. And it's really weird. Like, the Warriors left a couple years ago, and granted, they only went across the bay, but they're never coming back, and they can wear, you know, Oakland on their jerseys, but they're in San Francisco. It's an absolute game changer in terms of the value of the franchise, as well as the money that you can bring in. Like, if you're mad at the A's, you should be really mad at the Warriors, but you're not. Right? The Warriors, I believe, made $750 million off their non-basketball revenue last year. Why? Because they have a new arena that they own, and they're able to charge the nose because they're in San Francisco, which is incredibly powerful and popular real estate. You know, there's a reason that the Niners, when looking to build a new stadium, did not, even though the Raiders were leaving, they wanted nothing to do with Oakland. It's just financially, it's not reasonable to be in that city. They've lost the NFL. They've lost the NBA. They're going to lose Major League Baseball. And even on a day when all of these people called for, hey, just in a rare twist, it costs you nothing. It's a last place game, but we're going to show them what we're made of. 27,000 people showed up. You do realize that you reiterated and doubled down on every thought that anybody has about keeping a team in Oakland. Of course, it's about the stadium. But at some point, whoever's owned the franchise has said it doesn't really matter the stadium. We can't make money here, or the type of money that we want to make. And we're in this weird time where, like, so if you own a franchise worth over $1 billion, you're not supposed to make it profitable? I don't understand. Buyer, help me out. When you watched the reverse boycott last night, and just so you're aware, like Buyer and I and Jay Stu Ramos, I don't think you'll find a show that has a collection of bigger baseball fans, maybe outside of like East Coast based shows where people talk. We don't talk about baseball because baseball and national sports radio just not that popular, right? But this is an interesting topic. It's like, of all the teams to do a reverse boycott and to really protest and get mad about them leaving, why the A's and not the Raiders or the Warriors? Because you're the last ones to go? And by the way, you should have been the first ones to go. They don't draw well. Yes, the stadium's a dump, but you can't make money on that team. Not nearly the money you can make in Vegas or in Nashville or in Montreal or wherever else. Baseball knows it as well. That's why baseball, by all reports, they're not even going to charge them a relocation fee. Let's get them the hell out of Oakland and pretend like we're really sad. Nobody's really sad. Right? It's a weird market. You just can't make as much money there as you can in other places. And the NFL got out, the NBA got out. Why is Major League Baseball the bad guys for getting out? Buyer, you got any idea?
Well, I will say this. It would be increasingly frustrating if I was a fan to have ownership in the front office dismantle the teams like they have over the past how many years. When you have young stars, even, you know, as recently as Matt Olson and Matt Chapman and those guys that ended up moving on, there was never a time to gain any sort of momentum to have a winner. the facility is awful by all accounts from everything we've heard, including the broadcast booth where there was a raccoon or whatever. But I feel it's a lot to ask the fans to continue to spend the money on a team that continues to be dismantled. I used to think that they were just bandwagon fans, and I don't know if I got older and just felt differently and maybe was more conscious of spending a buck and that it was maybe about more than sports, but they gave them no reason to show up to the ballpark for the last 5 or 10 years.
No question. I think that's fair. But I don't even think it mattered that much if they do show up, right? That's only a fraction of what it takes to make money. It's just not like for people who don't know, my sister used to be second in charge of marketing with the Raiders. And when they moved from LA to Oakland, it did not take a long time before when they making calls on corporations like, look, we'd love to do business with you, but you're not in San Francisco, so you don't hit our target demo. Just the socioeconomic background of people who go to A's games, Raiders games, even Warriors games in Oakland is not where the high level advertising dollars are, marketing dollars are. It really is that simple. And it's a weird thing. I wish I could explain it in any other way, but it is about the money. But people oftentimes, it's like, well, it's bad what they're doing in tearing it down. And this year is obviously a pathetic joke. There have been other years where they've been at least competitive. But they're bottoming out, I think, with the idea of you go to Vegas, new stadium, new money, and now you go and spend, and, oh, yeah, by the way, you load up your farm system so it's all ready to go. Well, what about you, Jay Stu? You're kind of a baseball historian. Are you in any way negative about the A's organization moving?
No, I think it'll be good for baseball. It'll be interesting for Las Vegas that has a lot of momentum going for it. The A's have had decades, literally decades, to figure out the stadium situation. And that has just been a dog crap situation from the very beginning. And the A's fans, and I don't know how many there are, if there are 24,000 A's fans, that's a surprise to me. They have nothing to complain about. You could be sad, but you also have an hour trip to Vegas. That's a real nice Southwest flight.
Oh, I agree there. And I don't know why anybody would go to. What's the most baseball games you've ever gone to in a year?
3, probably.
Jay Stu?
Probably 20.
Dodger games?
Mostly, yeah.
Because you worked for the Dodgers network?
Yeah, that was an easy time to go to games.
But even 20, that's a lot, right? That's a lot. That's like, whew, that's an investment. I mean, honestly, I would guess even free tickets. Did you have free parking?
In that situation, yes, I did.
Okay. I mean, like, look, even if you had free tickets, if you had to pay for parking, it's an expensive night. Like, I've never understood the baseball regular season ticket holder thing. I'm with Byer. I love baseball. I can watch it every night at home. And if I go a couple times a year, it feels special to me. Like, I don't understand what the big loss is.
Are you talking about recently or just in my lifetime? Since I was...
In your lifetime, what's the most?
The most I went was...
I would just want to know 1984 specifically.
We used to go to about 40. It's half the home games of the
40?
Dodgers. Yeah. So
Dodger games?
There 80. How many home games are there? 80.
Season tickets?
Like a
share of season
my
tickets?
parents, we bought at least one ticket for each series when I was like 10 to like 18 years old. We went to every like Sunday game.
Dad, a doctor?
What's that? No. It was
really inexpensive.
It wasn't expensive. This was like 1977 to like 1989, 1999.
Okay, so but if you bought it, does that mean you went to all those games?
Yes, me and my mom and dad went to every at least one home series the whole season. So half of the 82 games.
It does feel like at some point it's like going to church. You're like, oh God, we gotta go to Dodger.
We would show up at like the game. It was like, let's say it was a 1:00 start game on Sunday. We'd show up like at 10 in the morning, and we'd get in. Yeah, we'd sit there. We'd eat. We'd watch batting practice. It was a big part of my childhood. It was awesome.
Okay, so should we be sad that the Oakland A's will be no more?
A little bit. Yeah. I do think they have a rich history in Oakland. They have 4 World Series, actually, including many great players that went through there, and Reggie Jackson and the greatness of Charles Finley, even though he kind of started the whole thing about, getting rid of guys with free agency with Catfish Hunter and stuff like that. So, but yes, there should be a little bit of...
First sports book I ever read was Catfish Hunter's autobiography.
Yeah. I mean, he left to go to the Yankees for $3 million.
Correct.
And that was a lot of money back in 1977.
Yeah, by many people's estimation, everybody says Kurt Flood, but Catfish Hunter was the first true free agent and free agent signing in Major League Baseball history. Look, I think it's okay to be sad, but to sit here and fight the fact that, like, there's obviously a reason that all of these teams are leaving. And
sure.
And look, a lot of it is the stadium, right? Like, people are like, oh, I liked Oracle better. Like, come on, man. But the reality is that when they didn't win, the Warriors for 40 years didn't draw. They just didn't. The Raiders never drew particularly well. Like, oh, the black hole. Like, yeah, go look up at Mount Davis, the top of the stadium. Wasn't full. And the A's have not traditionally drawn well. Now, could you build a new stadium? Like, yeah, but that's a little bit of lipstick on a pig. And you'd make more money. Right? But you're still not going to fill up the stadium, and you're not going to be able to get the non-baseball revenue the way you would when you're in Vegas. Sports is a business. And look, there's a balance between you have to stay loyal to the city, and the city has to stay loyal to you. And I've said this before about this is San Diego. I feel no sympathy for San Diego. I understand that when they lost the Chargers, the mayor was being investigated, and it was a joke. But you had like a decade there to build a stadium, and they said we want our stadium to be in downtown. And well, you got to pay for more of it. Like, no, you don't. For 8 games a year, nah, you pay for it. You're going to get the economic benefits of it. But like real civic leaders, you got to find a way to build a stadium to keep a team. And Oakland did a bad job of it for a long time. The demo of the city isn't great. Clearly can't support high level sports teams. And so you've already lost 2, and now it feels like you're wrapping your arms around the Oakland A's because they're the last one to go. They're gone. And I actually think it hurts your point to go like, okay, this is a game we're all going to show up as a reverse boycott. And you put 27,000 people in the place. 27,000 people in the place. I'll be completely honest with you. The Angels have been poorly run for 20 years. Okay. Now, they're playing well. I almost feel bad about mentioning it. They've won 8 of the last 9 games, including taking the first 2 from the Rangers in their series. But, Jay Stu, how many people do the Angels put in their building every year?
A lot, right?
3 million. Every year. Every year. And the ownership, Artie Moreno doesn't even want to call it Anaheim. He wants nothing to do with Orange County. He tries to call it L.A. Doesn't matter. 3 million people show up. They're good. They're bad. 3. And I don't like giving money to a bad team. I love Mike Trout and watching him and Shohei play. But the point is that certain markets can support it. Certain markets can't. And at the end of the day, it's not a charity. It's a business. And you're kind of making the point of the business if in the one night where you're like, hey, tonight's the night, tickets are like nothing, everybody show up and 27,000 people show up.
It's not personal. It's strictly business.
Correct. Thank you, Michael.